This is Top Accolade Global News Update. I am Abiodun Mohammed. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has accused Russian soldiers of committing war crimes and killing civilians in Kherson, part of which were retaken by Ukraine's army last week after Russia pulled out. Pressmen were unable to verify its allegations. Russia denies its troops intentionally target civilians. Mass graves have been found in several places across Ukraine since the start of the invasion on February 24th, including civilian bodies showing evidence of torture discovered in the Kharkiv region and in Bucha, near Kiev. Ukraine has accused Russian troops of committing the crimes. The United Nations Commission in October said war crimes were committed in Ukraine and that Russian forces were responsible for the vast majority of human rights violations in the early weeks of the war. Ukrainian troops arrived in the center of southern Kherson region on Friday after Russia abandoned the only regional capital it had captured since Moscow launched its invasion. Villagers holding flowers waited on the road to Kherson to greet Ukrainian soldiers on Saturday as they poured in to secure control of the right bank of the Dnipro River. This marks Moscow's third major retreat of the war and the first to involve yielding such a large occupied city in the face of a major Ukrainian counter-offensive using US-supplied high-mobility artillery rocket system, HIMARS. Turkey's government blamed Kurdish militants on Monday for a blast that killed 6 people in Istanbul's main shopping street and said police had detained 22 suspects, including the person suspected to have planted a bomb. State broadcaster TRT released footage of police escorting a woman, the main suspect, from an apartment after an overnight raid. Interior Minister Süleyman Soylu said the Kurdistan Workers' Party (PKK) and the Syrian Kurdish YPG militia, which Ankara says is a wing of the PKK, were responsible for the attack on the historic and bustling Istiklal Avenue on Sunday. Soylu said the order was given in Kobani and a bomber passed through Afrin, both cities in northern Syria, where Turkish forces have carried out operations against the YPG in recent years. The woman with curly hair and in a purple jumper with the words New York on it was shown being brought into police headquarters in the TRT footage. Police used a dog to search the apartment and found gold, money and ammunition. It showed 6 Turkish citizens, 2 members each of 3 families, were killed in the attack. No group has claimed responsibility. The Global Economic Outlook is gloomier than projected last month, the International Monetary Fund said on Sunday, citing a steady worsening in purchasing manager surveys in recent months. It blamed the darker outlook on tightening monetary policy triggered by persistently high and broad-based inflation, weak growth momentum in China, and ongoing supply disruptions and food insecurity caused by Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The global lender last month cut its global growth forecast for 2023 to 2.7% from a previous forecast of 2.9%. In a blog prepared for a summit of G20 leaders in Indonesia, the IMF said recent high-frequency indicators confirm that the outlook is gloomier, particularly in Europe. It said recent purchasing manager indices that gauge manufacturing and services activity signaled weakness in most group of 20 major economies, with economic activity set to contract, while inflation remained stubbornly high. A worsening energy crisis in Europe would severely harm growth and raise inflation, while prolonged high inflation could prompt larger than anticipated policy interest hikes and further tightening of global financial conditions. Chinese regulators have told financial institutions to extend more support to property developers to shore up the country's struggling real estate sector, 2 sources with different knowledge of the matter said on Sunday. A notice to the institutions from the People's Bank of China (PBOC) and the China Banking and Insurance Regulatory Commission (CBIRC) outlined 16 steps to support the industry, including loan repayment extensions, in a major push to ease the deep liquidity crunch which has plagued the property sector since mid-2020. The move comes as cash-strapped property developers struggle to tap sources of funding to finish projects and pay suppliers. Several developers have defaulted on their offshore debt obligations over the past year, fueling a property downturn, which has weighed on the world's second-largest economy. Chinese regulators are telling financial institutions to allow real estate economies to defer repayment of some loans, such as property development and trust loans, the sources said. The sources quoted the notice as saying that if a loan is due to mature within 6 months, real estate companies can be allowed to defer repayment for 1 more year. According to the notice, trust companies are instructed to provide financing for real estate firms on projects such as rental housing construction and mergers and acquisitions, the sources said. The sources declined to be named because the notice was confidential. The PBOC and CBIRC did not immediately respond to pressmen requests for comment. A police officer has been crowned this year's winner of South Africa's version of the talent show Idols, which is franchised across the globe. Warrant Officer Fapelo Molomo, aged 29, beat 10 other contestants as the season finale ended on Sunday night. He fell to the floor and prayed on stage after he was announced the winner. The country's police minister was at the show and congratulated the winner, saying, "The officer serves as an inspiration to police officers across the country to believe in their talents as they serve and protect the nation." Molomo walked away with about 1 million rand in prize money. He said he will return to his police work, but South Africans on Twitter were not convinced, given the wide range of other prizes he won, including a recording deal and a car. That is the size of top accolade global news update. You can follow us on our social media platforms as displayed on your screen. Happy New Week.